Hi, Akash, and welcome to the That One Idea podcast series. Thank you so much for giving us your time today. Excited to spend the next 40 minutes with you, unraveling that one idea called Zypp Electric and what got you to start up.
Thank you so much, Anjali, at WaterBridge. It's fun to be here. Thank you, and I think I like the name, that one idea, as a podcast name.
Yes, on that note, would actually like to start from the very beginning of that one idea called Zypp Electric. And we learned that you started your career at Dell after graduating from IMT Ghaziabad in 2008. And when you moved to Airtel 2 years later, your manager actually asked you to think about the 100 things that you wanted from your life. That led to a few sleepless nights and entrepreneurship, something that came from those 100 things. Take us through that exercise and how did Zip Electric, earlier known as MobiC, actually come about?
The bug of entrepreneurship actually was always there, deep within. As a kid, I used to draft logos and vision statements. As a kid, I remember drafting them. It was somewhere deep inside, but not coming out. But when this manager asked me to write those dreams, I remember I could write about 36, 37 of them in the first attempt, second attempt, about 65, 66 of them. But yeah, some of those dreams were that, hey, I want to definitely own a nice luxury car. I want to travel the world. I want to help people, right, in something that I could build towards a cause. And definitely entrepreneurship was number one, right? I want to build a company was number one. So yeah, those were the few other dreams that I wrote off. And I still have that diary right, in my cupboard. And I sometimes try to open it, but mostly not. These days, now I've started having my dreams on my phone.
Yeah, you also chose your wife, Rashi, to be your co founder in this journey. And Rashi was already a startup founder at that time, running her own startup, Let's Flaunt. Take us through your choice of a spouse as a co founder as well. And for other founders listening in, taking this decision of like both of you getting into this, what advice would you have for them?
Advice I would not give any because it's very personal for the two people living together. But I think between me and Rashi, one thing was very clear that we are both highly entrepreneurial. We wanted to build a business. I mean, I was 200% sure, and Rashi was also aligned with me throughout that, hey, I want to support you in your journey. And I think she never said, no, why we can't do that, how we will lose all of it. Whenever I said that, hey, I want to build a business, she was like, sure, let's think about it. Let's do it. Right. And things like that. And she's very like-minded when it comes to entrepreneurship. She's also from a Marwadi Bania family. Her dad is into businesses. So she was just right off the bat. And when I said that, hey, I have a dream to build a business, and we wrote actually those dreams together. When we were writing those 100 dreams, she was part of that. And when I wrote that dream, she was like, why not? She was not that kind of a wife who would say, no, how can you leave your career? Which my mom told me that, how can you leave your career and stuff? But she was very supportive. That's great about her. And I think somewhere deep within, she also wanted that as a dream of hers. So frankly, the Let's Flaunt business also was in a way a conception together. While I could not join her full time, and she could still leave her job and do that because one of us had to earn our living. And then that's how we, compartmentalized it and built it. But yeah, it was a great learning experience, which she thoroughly enjoyed. We also realized that Let's Flaunt could not become like a crazy global business, which we wanted to build, right? Or a very high impact, large business across the globe. When I started looking out for more ideas, and, I got this idea of Zypp Electric, and she was partying with her friends, and I called her that, hey, this is the idea. And she was like, what are you thinking? You cannot do this mobility and app and bikes and all of that. But yeah, it took me some time for convincing her. And then for me, the best choice was her because one, she had the business acumen to build a business. Second, I had no one else whom I could trust so much with respect to finance, with respect to decision making, with respect to hiring the team. So it was a perfect choice. And I think for couples also, I would say that it makes a lot of sense if you have a similar temperament towards
Mm.
life and similar ambition, and you're ready to take the risks that might be associated and rewards that might be associated with that journey. But if you're very different and you're very conservative, then one of
Yeah.
them should start off. Yeah.
Yeah. You also mentioned that during your last 3 months at MobiKwik, you were literally leading this dual life of balancing your day job and just the early ideation days of Zip. And take us through those initial 3 to 6 months and how you really went from this idea in your head to an actual business on the ground.
I remember May was when I got the idea, that I want to do exactly what, right? Which is this June. I started drafting business plan. I started drafting the entire pitch deck, Excel plan format, right? August, actually, the company was ready, right? So 8th August is when the company was already registered, which means June, July only we started the process of creating a company, right? As two directors of ours. And then, I had started at that time only while I was at MobiKwik. I started finding a tech team who could build the product for us, right? I remember we started booking WeWorks and these meeting rooms where we could actually start onboarding talent, go in for weekends, start hiring people, showing that, hey, we are building a company. I'm one of the founders. And, would you want to join me on this journey? I started pitching to the investors somewhere around the time, August, September via LinkedIn, via various means, writing on emails that you could get hands on to, sending the pitch decks and stuff like that. And yeah, so we were off the ground. It was not a second thought once I had made the call and together we had made the call that I want to build this, right? Then there was no looking back. I was all in. It was just the
Mhm.
process of exiting a company that I wanted to do in a nice way so that I could not risk anything that was doing in the job. Yeah, so it was like almost 200% commitment right from the idea was finalized.
And, a lot of VCs and founders, as they invest and evaluate startups, talk about founder market fit. We particularly always have chosen and pick founders from what we call eclectic backgrounds. One would say you're an outsider in the EV shared mobility space, given that you didn't have any EV experience when you decided to start up Zip. For us, we believe it's all about founder scalability and just a relentless drive to execute and the ability to keep like learning and moving forward that makes a great entrepreneur. For founders who pick an idea or an opportunity which is not their, let's say, theoretical domain expertise, what would you say would be like a playbook or the first few things that they need to surround themselves with, whether it's team, whether it's expertise? You also would have had regulatory and technical challenges, but take us through building as an outsider in the EV mobility space.
My idea would be that unless you are going very deep tech into possibly building a scooter or going into AI or going into something which is robotics, right, which is very very deep tech, that core expertise is highly critical when you're starting up. But even if you don't have it, and you are a business acumen guy who wants to build a business and you can build a team around you which is sound and having that core expertise, it's still okay. I don't I don't think that a founder with a specific knowledge of a niche can turn out to be better. Sometimes it becomes a bottleneck because your learning is very core to the subject, and hence you're not possibly innovatively thinking about solving a problem, right? Because you know that, hey, this can't be done. You're a preconceived. Otherwise, if you're coming with a very fresh background and you don't have any knowledge, then you basically peel the onion as it goes and you
Mm.
try each and everything, right? Which possibly gives you a better outlook. I would say that both have pros and cons. I was not a guy from an EV or a mobility background, but I was a guy who wanted to build a successful business come what may. And I was wanting to get my 300, 500% into doing it. I remember my Airtel days when someone interviewed me, one of my VPs who hired me and interviewed me. I had no clue about the business that I was joining, even in the Airtel days, right? I had never done ground sales prior to that. He told me
Mhm.
that, hey, you don't know anything about this business. You have never done sales. And the kind of pressure that Airtel has, you'll not be able to sleep in the nights. You'll wake up every night and you'll be feeling a jolt in your head every day. But then I was thinking that, hey, if someone else can do it, can I put more effort and be better than? Right? That's the core nature. And yes, I was always, even now I think any business builder has to be super committed towards solving the problem, and then you can figure out the way with the team around you. And that's what
Yeah.
worked out for us.
And talking about sales, you've always said and believed that you're a salesperson at heart. And after your stint at Airtel, you moved to Snapdeal's mobile marketing team and then later to MobiKwik before starting Zip Electric. Take us through each of your corporate work experiences in terms of how they've shaped you now as a founder and CEO at Zypp. And we're aware of your 10 rule DNA that you have set culturally at Zypp. Take us to the 10 rule DNA, some of which include having an entrepreneurial bent of mind, having an open door policy, always about optimism and frugality. But take us through each of your corporate experiences and how did they influence you as a founder? And I guess the
Mm.
second part of that question is what type of a culture you're setting at.
Sure. Yeah. So I think those early days of going into these multiple companies, right, from Airtel to Snapdeal to MobiKwik, really taught me a lot, right? So Airtel, even I still value a lot of Airtel way of hiring and way of building the core ethos. Everyone in Airtel is highly competent. Everyone wants to grow. And I think there is something special about Airtel, how they build that culture of high performance in everyone who's in Airtel. Everyone is competing, and wanting to grow, right? Which is great about, Airtel. And it gives a chance for everyone. After every 1.5 years, you can actually switch your career. You can change to a very different role, which you had no clue. So it's almost like very entrepreneurial, right? You're starting from zero on any new role after 1.5 years, and you are still growing because your designations are changing, right? So that's what I learned in Airtel. Every role was a challenge, and I was an outperformer in each of my, I would say, appraisals, right? Which got me into Snapdeal. Snapdeal was different because that was my first taste of a true startup, which is, acting as they're thinking, right? Because Airtel, you're planning a little more, but Snapdeal, you're thinking and you're executing, right? So it's a machine of execution, which is what I saw that, hey, this is how a startup is built. You're making mistakes, but you're making them daily and you're learning what not to do the next day. So you can try more things, right? So Snapdeal was great from that standpoint. I think MobiKwik was more about leadership, where I was leading a large team. I was leading an entire department. I was reporting to the co-founders, building the business ground up with them. So it was almost like running your own business in the shoes of being with the co-founders, right? As you say that before starting up, one of the good things that you can do is join a startup and actually build reporting to the founders. And I think for me, that was crash course of 2 years where I was head of marketing and doing everything essential at the business, and how to convert a fragile business into a rocket ship is what I did in those 2 years. That also gave me enough courage to kind of build my own business. Otherwise, as you leave a job and then you start up, you usually are always in a bit of a issue that, hey, what if I fail? But then at least MobiKwik gave me that confidence that even if I fail, I can stand up again, right? And hence I started Zypp. And while I was building Zypp, I wanted to get all the facets of Airtel, Snapdeal, good things of MobiKwik into building the culture of Zypp Electric. Like I learned in Airtel, always the salary of people used to come on time, either on the 28th or 30th of the month. So at Zypp, that's what we've ensured, that the salary always goes either on 31st or 1st. No delay. So those were the ethos that we built. The IJP culture at Airtel, got that here. But to talk about the 5 core value systems that we believe and thrive in Zypp are, so we earlier used to have 8 to 10 values, but now we've crushed them down into 5 values. We call it Tribe, T.R.I.B.E. So we call ourselves a sustainability tribe. And Tribe is like an acronym of T meaning technology and SOP focus. R is for rider and customer first, because those are our two customers and they have to be always happy. I is for integrity and optimism. We feel that these two things are very, very critical in building a startup. You cannot stay negative even if you're failing. You have to be optimistic. B is beyond the basics, because if people do something beyond their regular course of the routine, that's when they're outperforming. And E is for execution. Obviously, goes without saying that startup is nothing without it. So these are the 5 value systems that we try to imbibe in people. Every month when we have a town hall, we basically reward people on these 5 core values, whoever showcased them. And that's how we build.
And you started this in 2017, which is now almost 7 years ago, way before EV was even mainstream. Take climate and EV are all hot investment sectors. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you were hit by COVID and the pandemic. Today, it's hard to believe COVID itself was 4 years ago. But being in a mobility business, especially with 2 extensive national lockdowns, you were stuck between a rock and a hard place. And many mobility business didn't come out of COVID at all. But yours
Right.
has been an amazing story of resilience and coming out on the other side of COVID, and not just that, having continued to grow your top line successfully year on year. But
Yeah.
take us through what went through your mind in 2020, the first national lockdown, your pivot away from B2C more towards fleet-led management, and just through, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, what went through your mind those 2 years of COVID, actually being in mobility, especially.
Yeah, actually, going in hindsight, those were building blocks of our business. The first lockdown, we had a fleet of 300 EVs. About 50 of them were doing the current business that we are fully onto, right? Most of our bikes were in, rental space, 250 of them, and 50 were still deployed into last mile deliveries, right? And when COVID hit, we had either, shut down the entire business, or we could pivot the entire business towards, the 250 also to shift towards the 50 and make it all three, right? We chose the latter, and the best part was that the team came forward. They said that, hey, we are ready. We will find drivers. We will deploy them. We will find businesses. We created web pages right off the bat. Within a few days, the Zypp web page converted into a delivery web page. We created Google Forms out and sent it everywhere on the social medias that, hey, if you need a delivery service, let us know. We would love to help you around. And thankfully, our grounds team, they went to the commissioner. They took rights of deploying our services, being essential services of last mile delivery. So yeah, and our tech team was ready to change and create a totally new product, because earlier the 50 was only a pilot, which we were doing without any tech. But within 45 to 60 days, we had a full driver app ready so that we could do this properly rather than just doing it as an experiment anymore. In hindsight, those were amazing days of team building. Even with a little bit of cuts in salaries, everyone was out, everyone was wanting to survive. That is how special projects are built,
Yeah.
whether it's Chandrayaan or whether it's anything else. And yeah, today we are about 18,000 EVs. We've never looked back after that. The second COVID was a relief because we were always live as a service and we had to just expand. And second COVID was also a little bit of a easy one because at least most of the things were operational. So we had cracked the code by that.
And take us through your shift from pure B2C to fleet management. And today you work with almost every last mile consumer delivery company in the country. Tell us about why it's important for them to electrify their fleets, but more importantly, how does it help them deliver a better, more reliable service to their end consumers by ensuring that fleet is taken care of by a third party end-to-end platform service provider lens.
Yeah. So see, today, the entire logistics, if you look at, there is no customer who has a full control on their own logistics, right? Because it's all through a driver operator model, right? So a Zomato or a Swiggy or a Big Basket, they would hire a person who has his own bike and they would try and onboard him, giving him some joining bonus and then throw dollars at him so that he comes on their platform every day. If you look at, there's no control there because if a driver has his own bike, tomorrow he might not want to come to work, or he might want to switch a platform within a jiffy, right? Because all these apps are open. He can work on Uber, he can work on Zomato, he can work on a Zepto, right? Depending on who's paying him more. When a fleet operator like Zypp Electric comes into the picture, they say that, hey, you give us that demand and we are now your partners. We are not a driver who will shift platforms very easily because we are a B2B partner. It's our business to ensure that if we've taken a contract, we will ensure that the deliveries happen for you basis the numbers that we pre-agreed on, right? So it's not overnight that you have to search for 4,000 drivers tomorrow. If Zypp is already working with 4,000, you don't have to worry about whether these 4,000 will come tomorrow or not. That's my head, right? So that is one core way that we are shifting the way last mile deliveries are done in India, which is via organized B2B players like us to give more comfort to these larger partners, of e-commerce, food tech, grocery and taxi and pharma and hyperlocal guys, right? The second major shift that we are doing is because all of them want to go electric for several reasons. There is ESG push, there is government push, there is now like Delhi has a mandate now to electric by 2030. And with a phased out approach of 26, 20%, 27, 40% and stuff like that, right? So there's a calendarized plan of mandating logistics to go electric. And if Delhi has done it, other states are following soon. Like bike taxi is already only governed at 100% being electric. Otherwise, you cannot fly those bikes, right? Now, to do electric, someone has to know the entire model, right? Which bikes, whether charging or swapping, who will do the financing, how to do the recycling, where to do the charging, where to do the swapping. There are too many unknown boxes for the driver as well as for the businesses, which is where we come into the picture. Hey, we know the game. We will ensure that the EVs are there, best quality, up and running, with maintenance support, with the right drivers, knowledge, training, and all of that, and ensure that it's all plug and play for you. You don't have to worry about it. So that is how we've kind of found a niche in what we do at scale, and hence businesses have started liking it, while they still feel that, hey, you want to hire the drivers with their own bikes, but it's a fleeting dream, which is in a way not effective, and sooner than later they are slowly realizing that.
Yeah. Can also take us through the gig economy work angle as well, where you can rent these bikes to gig workers. It's also more secure for them. They don't need to own upfront or take care about, again, maintenance, AMC, insurance,
Correct.
etc. They can also find more reliable work via the Zypp app. But take us through the
Sure.
lease to or rent to gig worker model as well.
Correct. Yeah. So our business is in a way, where we get the bike through a leasing partner. We get the driver on board through our pilot app and train him. And then we connect the bike and driver to various businesses through an API integration, order level integration, or a contract where we ensure that all their deliveries are powered electric and driven by Zypp. So Zypp caters to all their last mile deliveries. Now, in this equation, a very big aspect of our business is the delivery partner. That's the core ethos. There are about 18 to 20,000 delivery executives that we are powering every day today on our platform. And they are, so if you look at them, they come from smaller towns. A lot of them, they don't have bank accounts. They don't have money to pay down payments. They don't have a CIBIL score so that they can get access to financing. Also, owning an EV is a very high upfront cost of almost 1 lakh. And after 3 years, they might have to reinvest in the batteries, right? Which is again 35, 40,000. So it's a high cost of ownership for them if they want to go electric and save money, because, EVs are much more cheaper in running expenses versus petrol, because petrol costs a lot more on a two-wheeler, about 2.5 to 3 rupees per kilometer versus EV at 30 paisa per kilometer, right? So there's much more saving for them on a monthly basis. But what Zypp does is that Zypp has basically give them a zero cost access plan where they come in, they get their KYC done, they put in a very small onboarding fee, about 1,500 odd, and then they get access to a bike. And then they get access to various businesses. So our platform is basically enabling them not just with electric bike, but also business, so that they can earn more. Because a guy doesn't know that, hey, which area Zomato orders are. And if morning I want to work, which is the grocery partner where I can work and then go bike taxi. To kind of create a journey or an API level order plan for them so that they can maximize their earnings. And then EV is very, unknown to everyone. So if the EV gets stuck, they click a button on ticketing and one of my mechanics will go and ensure that he's up and running. If he's out of charge, we will already send him a notification. Hey, you're out of charge in 10 kilometers. This is the charging point where you can go, or this is the place where you can swap the battery. So basically for him, again, it's like everything is on the app, single place where he doesn't have to worry. He just have to work with his commitment and he can start earning from day one, day two, right? So that's a beauty that we love, that, we are a very, very high impact social business. From one side, saving the pollution, on the other side, having a high human impact of bringing these people, financially possible, from.
Yeah. Then, Akash, during these 6 years, you've obviously raised external capital as well, and you've gone from seed to A to Series B. I think for any founder listening today, take us through how investor expectations change from your first pitch to your Series B pitch. And generally, how do you as a founder evaluate investors? We always tell founders to also reverse diligence investors too. But take us through how investor expectations change from founders and vice versa to what to expect as a founder from a seed investor to a Series A investor to a Series B investor.
No, I think as with every round, the stakes go higher, right? When you are as a founder, the first round is always just like, hey, I like you. Maybe you will build the business. I'm part of your dream, right? That's how the first rounds happen. So initial first 2, 3 rounds, it's more about you selling yourself rather than, a lot more understanding about the business, because these are angels, family offices, syndicates who are participating in your journey, unless you're a glorified founder and you find a glorified fund like yours to participate. Yeah. So you have that hustle journey, right? Where you just keep convincing, keep selling your story that, hey, I want to build this. I will ensure that this grows well. But yeah, as you become seasoned, with Series A, the expectation changes. Hey, now you have some traction. Now, how you can scale, right? So yes, we had to build that scalable. That whether this business model works, but can you scale it? Do you have the team to scale it, right? So I think A is more about building the right team. Seed to A is more about proving yourself that you have that core ethos that you will survive, come what may, and you are that founder who's 24/7 just thinking about the business. Then towards A, it's more about the right team and the right DNA, that you're able to actually scale this now that there is a PMF or something there, but whether this business will scale. And then B is more about a lot more about governance, a lot more about those entities that you're structuring it right. You're scalable to the next level now. You can start generating profits possibly, 2 years down the line. You can make it multi-city also with some unit economics coming in shape, right? So those are Series B-ish discussions, and C is then more about, hey, in how many years you can do an IPO, whether you can actually do profitable, calls, when is the EBITDA looking like, and all of that, right? So those are the learnings that I've had, and I think I have grown a lot in this entire journey myself, not knowing anything about building a business, and getting here. It's been fun.
And your most recent round was a 25 million round from Google, the Taiwanese battery swapping giant. Take us through if there are any intent to get into the Indian battery swapping market and where do you go from here?
Yeah, so Series B was very interesting. We closed it last year, somewhere around this time, Jan Feb, and Gogoro, Goodyear Ventures, and a few more investors participated in this round. Gogoro definitely sees India as a big, big market, right? For them, they see that whatever they've done in Taiwan, I think India could be an amazing place because of our EV mandates. They saw that they did an extensive research within India, and they also realized that B2B logistics is the way to basically first enter with electric vehicle market, and then B2C will open up slowly, and hence we were the right partners for them. What we are helping them with is finding the right market fit with their products and their swapping service. Definitely have a huge roadmap for India, and I think we are partners in their growth story. This is not an year or two partnership. This is a long, decade long partnership where we can help them not just in India, but possibly together we can go into multiple global markets, right? And we definitely their vehicles, get their swapping up, and then their swapping is our best, so we don't have to worry about it. While we are already working with other swapping partners also because of the current India growth story, but that's where we see Gogoro being a good partner from a technology landscape.
This round would have also enabled you to scale up your teams, especially your leadership team, beyond the founders significantly. So
Yeah.
take us through what some of your hiring playbooks have been. Do you typically hire leaders and build teams under them? Do you hire domain experts? But take us through how the org is scaled beyond the two of you as founding team members.
Yeah, in fact, just around our pre-series A, we did a very big validation in Tushar and hired him as a co-founder, right? So we are three. From two, we are three co-founders, and we realized that we need at that time we needed a core expertise of mobility background and someone who can drive an operational rocket ship, towards the next level. So Tushar uh, from Ola, Cars24, MDI pass out, he joined us as co-founder. We were at about 3,000 then and now at 18,000. So he scaled the business 5x, since then. The team is obviously grown quite large. We are close to 1,200 members on board on payroll, with leads of fleet, operations, technology, finance, marketing, HR, every leader has its own large team and driving towards growth. What we look at definitely in people is, at least especially what I look at is whether this guy has the fire like an entrepreneur, right? I look at how much more they can run the business as their own, right? And skills and degrees don't matter, but it's their intent which they want to execute, and hunger to basically earn a name or a growth charter for themselves is what I look at.
And typically, when you hire folks, do you prefer generalists? Do you prefer sector experts? And how do you test for some of this entrepreneurial drive and attitude? I think at the interview stage, I think common question we get asked from founders is how do you test some of these softer skills? And how do you ensure that they culturally integrate fairly quickly once they join?
Yeah, so that's very, very, conversational, that you kind of figure it out basis their body language, their intent to grow. Their hunger is basically shown in their past expertise. Every appraisal, I definitely ask that, how was your last three appraisals? How many pat on the backs you've got or awards you've got in life? How much hungry the person is to earn these recognitions also show that, hey, they really want to outperform themselves, because I think some of those core ethos were there in me when I was working as a professional, right? I try to correlate that, hey, if I was like this, in the job, then they would be similar in a startup like this, right? Some of the questions in terms of their past growth curves. How are they only looking at cash components? Are they open to ESOPs? Are they looking to sacrifice to build their career, and ready to be thinking like an entrepreneur? Because we try to offer ESOPs to almost everyone who joins the company. For me, since we are building this business, which is happening for the first time in this way in India, which is electric mobility led service business to build last mile delivery, we don't have any parallels, to be very frank, right? So we have to hire people with hunger and then train them into the atmosphere of Zip. There are no special SMEs that work for us, barring some of the battery guys or the technology guys, which is Java and Spring and DevOps and stuff. But most of the guys we hire are generalists, but with an intent to excel.
And you've raised a large 25 mil round in what has been a funding window. And of course, that wouldn't just come on the back of stellar growth and actual revenue and scale of the business. But if I ask you to rewind to your very first investor pitch and tell us what your pitch deck looked like and what kinds of questions the investors asked you, would you be able to share some anecdotes from that first pitch meeting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the first pitch deck was very, very different, obviously, than the current pitch
Yeah.
deck. But it was more like selling a dream that, hey, I want to change the landscape of mobility in India, and I want to convert it all towards sustainable, because India needs the problem of pollution to be solved. But typically, yeah, the flow was similar. A dream, technology, how you're planning to execute it, right? With some pilots which we had already done, some customer insights which we had already got, so baked everything, all of it. But I think the way that you pitch today is very different, because today you pitch more of data and what you've done. But
Yeah.
there, since you didn't have any of those numbers, you were more pitching from the heart of your passion and your body language. So those were the two different ways that you were doing. Every pitch is, from some lenses, similar, because you have to throw yourself out. The data points just change.
Yeah. And just in terms of where you are today and the regulatory landscape, and given how new EV is, and it also requires a lot of public policy push, what's your opinion on the current infrastructure, both around batteries, battery composition, chemistry compositions, as well as the swapping infrastructure, the charging infrastructure? And overall, where do you think public policy, including subsidies and public support, needs to be for us to be able to achieve our net zero targets?
Some of that is moving in the right direction, I would say, because EV is a sunrise
Yeah.
industry. It's a large change which is happening in the entire mobility market to shift from the entire IC to electric. It's going to be a time-taking journey, right? And everyone realized that. And I think government has done some good, commendable steps in terms of FAME, in terms of GST waivers at 5% on buying the vehicles, mandating some of the logistics and other areas to go electric, making a carbon policy also, I think, is something which is in the offing. Last mile delivery. Today, every company pays a 18% GST on any logistics service. But if you're doing it with electric, can it be at a 5% GST? Possibly if you do that, then every business anyways would start scouting for more electric vehicle like delivery service partners. So that is one of the requests possibly that we would like to table out, so from the policy landscape. In terms of infrastructure buildup that you asked me, whether it's swapping, charging, I think there are, and battery PLIs, which is already there, and the OEM PLIs, which are already there. There are some good policies already out there, and some of the startups have really done well in these green sectors, which are also emerging, which is, whether charging or swapping or financing. So it's a land of opportunity, right? So if there are not a lot of policies, I think those are unknowns. And, when we started in 2017, there was nothing, right? There were no OEMs, there was no financing, there was nothing to be defined. But we entered at that time, and today we are talking about, hey, sunrise industry. So yeah, someone has to, if you're thinking about starting up, you have to just jump in and, figure out everything, talking to the right stakeholder.
You touched upon financing as well, and I think a key part to adoption and scale, given how capex heavy or infrastructure heavy the space is also the financing element. What has your experience been with just the maturity, not just around traditional finance in terms of lending for batteries and EV, but could also be, say, insurance for EV. But overall, what's your point of view on the financing ecosystem that has built around the EV ecosystem?
I think we've been pioneers in that. And I must say that some of our team members, including Rashi, have done a commendable job, right? We early on, we decided that we cannot put our equity money into assets. So we went out in the market and we told people, hey, you acquire these assets. We will lease out from you, right? And that's how we cracked the first code of staying asset light and cracking financing on day one. And then there were businesses which were built around this. Hey, why are you finding people? We will find people for you. Then NBFCs came forward. They said, hey, we will create companies which will house these assets and we will lease it to you. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? We clocked our path to 18,000 EVs. And I think it can easily scale to 100,000 EVs the way that we have, kind of a lot of pipelines of people, companies, NBFCs, green finance options available now. If your business model is scalable and, some unit economics is proven. I think the industry is open. You have to be just resilient into finding your niches and create those financing options. Otherwise, nothing is on a platter.
Yes. And the other stakeholder that you have are actually the delivery partners who use your vehicles, and safety unnecessarily gets more than its required attention, or with the press especially. But given that you are responsible for the gig worker, take us through how much of that translates on ground realistically, and how much education you need to do for these gig workers regarding the safety aspects beyond just the obvious commercial aspects of why it is actually better for them to be using an electric vehicle, cheaper for them to be using an electric vehicle. Is safety a concern? Is it something that they see? Do you see getting raised with when the gig workers choose to use a Zip electric bike?
No, I think safety is a lot of our responsibility. I agree with that. And I think we have a very strong training plan for every driver who joins the platform. There's a strong plan where he goes to a training module where safety and security is one of a core module of that, where they have to pass by giving a test. We ensure that every rider who joins the Zip platform delivery executive gets a helmet for sure. We have a very regular training and incentive plan, which we keep running on the platform. They put a selfie, whether they're wearing a helmet or not. We check that through AI. If even sometimes I hear that, hey, one of the Zip drivers has taken a wrong side, right? So we are putting a lot of, steps on AI based camera recognition or route recognition to know that, hey, why are you taking a wrong side of the road, right? So I think it's work in progress, but platforms like us have to actually do a good job at it, because a gig driver is always on a rush. And I think I empathize with them because I do delivery sometimes myself going on road. It's not an easy job. It's cutthroat. You're on the road, you're driving for 100 kilometers every day, 10 to 12 hours. Your back is not at rested. You're always looking at that map, and it's a crazy journey, right? While I empathize with them, but I also feel that this is one of our responsibilities to train them and, ensure that their lifestyles are better and they are much secure. We have a very strong insurance plan for them, which is curated, which is called a Zip Suraksha, which is assurance. So we have like no questions asked reimbursement policy within click of buttons. If they get hurt or, anything happens. We have actually cracked a lot of insurances for the first time in this industry, where it's just the battery insurance, the entire vehicle insurance, the driver insurance, the trip insurance. A lot of these things we've tried to crack.
Fantastic. And moving to your your last stakeholder that I had a question around was all your internal economy clients, your delivery clients with the who's who of the internal economy world, Zomato, Swiggy, Amazon, everybody's a customer of yours. You therefore have unique insights on their own scale models as well as like electrification models. So take us through what parts of their fleet are they planning to electrify in the coming years, and what type of scale are they preparing for in this year?
Oh, yeah. So actually, if you look at almost everyone, I gave this snapshot. Recently, I met Mr. Kant at Niti Aayog, and he was asking the same. And me researched either 2027 or 2030. So Zomato says very clearly 100% electric by 2030. Uber says 100% electric by 2030. Amazon wants it about 2027. Big Basket again similar. So all the large companies now have a clear electrification goal, and the last endpoint for all of them is 2030 or before, right? So that's a positive. We don't have to educate them to go electric. It is something which is now innate in the way that they operate. I think that's good for the entire nation. If we are able to do this in India faster, then we can think global also faster, right? And that is what we kind of see and visualize at Zypp, that let's electrify India very quickly with all these partners giving us that comfort and getting that validation that, hey, Zypp is working in possibly 2, 3 markets, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore. If Zypp can work in 10 more markets, then I think we would love to kind of do that around the globe, not just in India.
Yes, and that actually leads me to my last question in terms of in 2024, what can you look forward to in Zypp, and what are the audacious ambitions, plans that you've set for yourselves and the team this year?
Big plans. I think, without big plans, there's no fun in building this company, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
2nd Jan, when we met everyone, we actually, I had 2, 3 meetings, which was all about resolutions for 2024, right? So one between the 3 co-founders, the second with all my leadership teams, and then the third with my entire town hall team, right? So everyone got those vision statements. Definitely, we want to grow from the current fleet size of about 18, 20,000 to roughly 60,000 fleet. So almost 3 to 4x growth into the business by end of this year. Our ARR should grow, from a 40 million to roughly about a, 150 million ARR, right? That's where we see the ARR growing in the next 12 months. We want to scale our driver NPS, which is roughly at about 40, 50 to about 65, right? In their happiness. We want to definitely diversify solutioning to a lot more types of customers, including ONDC, hyperlocal, and many more. And yeah, take this possibly, if we can, beyond India also. Why not? So yeah, a lot of ambitions are there. 2024. Let's hope for the best. We have our fingers crossed, and we are mission zero emissions. So continue to do that.
Yes, and on that note of Mission Zero, thank you so much. Wish you all scale and success for the year and the new year ahead. Thank you so much once again for giving us your time on that one idea, and wish you all the very best, Akash. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Anjali. Enjoy the conversation. Have a good one.
Cheers. Take care.
Thank you.